Hey everyone, since I'm doing a bit of an AMA over on Reddit, I thought it's a pretty good time to show off some of the crawl stuff that was cut or that didn't quite make it in there. Yeah, just have a bit of a poke around in there now that the pressure's off to get the Switch version out and get the trailer done. It's pretty good to just laze around and poke around in the project a bit. Alright, so I think the first thing I'll show off is the forest environment, which didn't quite make it in there. Just see. Yeah, alright, I already tweaked the environments to lead to that. Yeah, so this was the forest. I'd got most of it done. Like just the basic different room shapes, the stairs, the kind of landing room. I kind of liked this because I imagined that in the forest you're kind of teleporting down into there. It's like some weird nether realm as opposed to actually coming down a flight of stairs into there. So I had this kind of landing pad. Got these bushes that you can sort of walk through, and they put out a bit of a puff of leaves every time. And so this is the first environment that has properly sort of seriously curved rooms and weird curved shapes. And so that had actually a bunch of kind of unique code to get that going. Yeah, and so the main reason it's not in there is that I didn't get a chance to start looking at it until right at the very end of the project. And I got the basic room shapes in there, but most of the unique props, like all the cupboards and all those sorts of things that you interact with, aren't really relevant or compatible in the forest. And so it really needed its own whole big set of props to go along with it. And it also needed quite a bit of testing, and I just didn't have the time for either of those things, unfortunately. But yeah, that's the forest environment. But yeah, I was happy with how it looked, and I'm still hoping to, at some point, sneak it in there. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I was like just pushing it right up to the edge, trying to cram in as much as I could before the end. And I just knew that if I made a whole lot of props for it, firstly, I mean, I was already working just way too many hours by the end. But if I was trying to make a whole lot of props as well, I just knew that they'd all be just completely untested, and there'd be a whole lot of bugs. And so, yeah, I wasn't confident to try and just force this one through, like right at the very moment that you're pushing out the final version of the game is just not the time to add a huge amount of brand new untested content. So yeah, I thought better not break the game and just leave it for an update. But I quite like the going down the stairs animation here as well, kind of jumping into some kind of purple vortex thingy. Yeah, so that's that. I'll show you, I think there's a whole lot of kind of monsters and stuff. I think I can speed this up. Oh, maybe not. Won't screw with it. So in here, in the enemies folder, I think I cleaned this up so that. All right, so we've got a bunch of guys here that were halfway through being implemented. So this was this cage demon guy, and I'd still like to get him in there some point, but he was, see, yeah, so I haven't got any attacks hooked up for him yet, just a walking animation, but he was going to be another kind of summoner type. I had, the thing that I was thinking of doing with this guy actually was making it so that instead of you being able to summon more zombies, he would just start with 3 guys that on his spawn animation, he'd just instantly bring up these 3 zombies, and then your 2 attacks that you have would just be different ways of kind of buffing and healing those zombies. And so you'd have 3 guys, they'd be a lot faster than the regular zombies, and they'd be a lot more kind of powerful, and your job was much more just to sort of run around and defend them and to buff them, like maybe even to give them some sort of a shield that he can throw out to kind of, you know, stop the hero killing them or something. But yeah, that was... I think there's potential there, but yeah, I just didn't really have time to get that finished off. This was just another kind of zombie variant. This was going to just be like a higher kind of level of zombie that's got its limbs all sort of chopped off. Yeah, I just never found a good use for this guy, because I think the more powerful zombie guys that previous dude would have spawned, I think they would have needed to be a lot more kind of nimble than that guy. Got a little hunchback guy. He's probably moving a bit faster than he should. So, I mean, that's part of these guys. You know, we're only part way through being done, so he probably should be moving a little slower than I've got him. But yeah, I had a bit of a chain of these kind of hunchback monster sort of guys that would lead up to what is now the troll. And so the troll was kind of going to be potentially more separated into a family of guys who were all kind of these lumbering, fleshy, like mutated big people. So this guy was potentially going to be, I guess, kind of like a mini troll. You know, he'd pull up like a rock or something that he'd throw. It wouldn't be as kind of big and powerful as the troll, and he'd be a little bit more nimble. But yeah, he didn't quite make the cut. But I'd still be happy to go back and get him in sometime. It's just a matter of like the specifics of the attacks kind of coming together. This guy made it in. Oh yeah, and I had so this is kind of how that chain was going to work. I was imagining that chain would work. We have the little gnome guy who throws out the bear traps, and he would evolve up into this guy who would be just a stronger gnome, and he would throw out less bear traps, but they'd be bigger and more powerful, and he'd maybe have... Yeah, that's the thing. I hadn't really come up with a good complementary attack for the bear traps that for this guy. And I also feel like that little bear trap guy is actually kind of overpowered in terms of just kiting and slowing down the game and running away. And so I was a bit concerned that making a more powerful version of him would either be overpowered, it would slow down gameplay too much, or I would have to kind of rein it back so much that it would end up actually not really being significantly more powerful than the low level one. But I do like this guy's design in general. So yeah, the idea was that that little bear trap guy would evolve into this guy. This guy would evolve into the hunchback that I just showed, and then the hunchback would evolve into the big rock throwing troll. All right, so those are the more kind of polished ones that were kind of further along. But then there's also this firewolf guy that I just could never get to feel good in play. I think I wasn't really happy with this run animation, so he's only half kind of implemented. Yeah, like I don't really like this stroll animation. I think he needs to gallop a bit more, kind of like how the dragon does. Okay, these fireballs are a little broken. I think that was oh well. Okay, and he's doing a lava thingy. Okay, so I had him for a while doing an effect that just started a lot of flames on him, and he'd run around as normal, but if he touched the hero, the flames would catch the hero and do damage. I guess I tried this lava effect for him at one stage as well, but yeah, he still wasn't working, and it didn't feel very kind of doggy and appropriate to be throwing out these fireballs. It looks like just the shadow, because I haven't touched this guy for such a long time, the shadow on those fireballs has gotten broken, and it's just showing up as this silly square. I'm trying to remember how to fix that. Anyway, he's there, you know. Yeah, there's some stuff I like about him. His like general look when he's standing still I like, but I think I'd really need to redo his walking animation. And I just wasn't really so happy with these attacks. This guy, the Flesh Beast, is kind of one of the earliest guys I drew, so his design, his animation are kind of a bit weird because I was still really figuring out the art style for this. But so if I kept him in, I probably would have sort of completely redrawn him. Yeah, he looks a bit silly at the moment, just being a big kind of orange, flat-colored blob. But the idea of him was that it was going to be like a sort of big, weird, skinny dog horse thing that has all its flesh torn off. But yeah, I didn't really have any good ideas for attacks or anything like that, so he never got much further than just a crappy walk animation. Yeah, he was one of the very first guys I did just when I was testing and trying to figure it all out. Oh yeah, this was another guy for the evolved tree with the hunchback. So this guy probably would have been like a tier 3 guy, and so he would have been another kind of slow either rock throwing or something like that. But yeah, I just didn't really have great ideas of how to use him, so even though I thought he looks kind of cool, yeah, I didn't have the best ideas. And these guys who have quite slow move speed, you know, they always wound up being frustrating, so I always end up speeding them up, and then their slow stumbling walks ended up looking a bit silly. So yeah, they wound up not being the most appropriate guys for just the fast, ridiculous combat. The Hound, I tried a lot of different things. He was kind of supposed to be just like a scaled up version of the Rat, basically, like the Rat's kind of stronger big brother, and he'd have like a sort of dash bite thing like this, and yeah, I wasn't sure what to do. I think he had maybe like a dodge as his second attack for a while, but it doesn't seem to be on there. But yeah, in the end, I wasn't too happy with the look of him. He didn't really fit the vibe too much, but I could have tweaked him and, you know, made him a bit more vicious, made him a bit more like a kind of some evil evil possessed dog or something instead of looking like somebody's pet. But I just wasn't that happy with the feel of his attacks, and so it wasn't really worth it. Let's see. The meat hog. I like the design. He was going to be in the evolve tree with the demons and stuff. Just this big kind of fleshy, meaty pig thing. But this is actually, I think, the second variant of his run animation. And both variants, like, I had 2 goes at his run animation, and I thought I just had done a crap job both times, which is why he's not in there. You know, I don't really like the look of his movement. His body's losing its kind of losing its volume and squishing around too much. But I initially tried him with more of a galloping run, and that looked silly. So I tried just this like kind of walk with a big mouth chomp, and that looks silly. So even though I like the look of him just standing there, I just wasn't happy with the stuff I came up with for him. Oh yeah, we do have we have some more slimes that I was hoping to find a way in there. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe these aren't the slimes I was thinking of. Oh, no. Whoa, these are super early, these slimes. This is actually before we figured out what the kind of blobs would look like. This was my first attempt at making coloured blobs. They were more kind of ghostly, like so that they would visually match in with the ghost characters a bit. But yeah, I just thought they looked really stupid, so I threw these away and redid them. This sloth beetle I actually kind of liked him in the end. But yeah, I just still didn't have great ideas for what his attacks would be. He's got, oh, his face isn't quite reading against the background very well there. Yeah, so a lot of these guys were sort of made when the environments were coloured a little bit differently, so they would need a bit of a palette tweak to get them. Here we go, make him a bit darker so he reads a bit more against the ground. But yeah, I kind of liked his like just goofy, disgusting face and this like flying animation. It would have had a kind of weird, buzzing sort of thing. But yeah, once again, I just didn't really have any great ideas for his attacks. I was imagining he'd drop some kind of gross stink bomb clouds or something. But yeah, just nothing great ever occurred to me. And then we had this classic D&D sort of wizard guy, which was a bit of a strange creature for this. This was when I was just, just drawing all these random D&D sort of guys. But yeah, like an evil wizard is a pretty cool thing. But yeah, I just didn't have the best ideas for attacks and things. I mean, I still think he might have a place in there. I ended up actually kind of repurposing his design a bit, and giving it a bit of a redesign, but kind of building off this to make to design the little wizard that helps you in the fight against the Hydra. So yeah, he sort of got forgotten after I kind of reconfigured him for that Hydra fight. And I think that's it for all the kind of monsters that got their idle and run animations in there. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else really that fun to show, so I think I'll call it there, unless there's any more. No. Oh yeah, that's right. There are those other blobs. I knew there was one more thing. Oh, wait a minute. Oop. That's just a damage effect. sure why this is being so unresponsive. This is, maybe if I close that window. Here we go. So yeah, I had this little blob. I was just designing a bunch of kind of variations that would sort of have slightly different attacks. So here was one that kind of dropped a bit of a... Oh, he's got... Oh, okay, yep. So I'd have him... yeah, dropping a slime thing and or just shooting a simple little projectile. And I kind of like this idea of looking very similar to the regular blob, but just having some kind of thing stuck in the middle of the blob. It's just like a little weird ball in there. And here was one with an eyeball in there. I wasn't too happy with the attack that I came up with for it, though. It's like a sort of bubbly, bouncy thing. But yeah, I still do like the idea of getting some more, variety for these blobs in there. So you're making some kind of decisions about what to upgrade them to or how to power them up or something. And I kind of like the idea of floating around and like dropping one in this corner who's more like a turret and dropping one down there to attack the player and stuff. But yeah, it was just, one of those things that, although it was a cool idea, it was never as high priority as, adding more bosses or, balancing and, all of that stuff that's kind of gets a little boring, but it's very necessary. I think this was just a slightly bigger variant. I think we ended up using this for the for one of the gods who has kind of upgraded blobs, and all his blobs are now this slightly bigger version. The medium. So I think the medium is the one that we used for the regular guys. We've got the small and the tall. There we go. Yeah, so this tall one is going to be maybe more like a sniper. The tiny one would have been the kind of... Yeah, I don't really like the look of that projectile. That was the thing I was trying for him, but I was trying to make it more like a little spear, but I think he just wants to shoot something like that regular blob. But I just like how cute they were. These guys would have been kind of the lowest possible currency of the blobs, so they're guys that they just instantly die in one hit and they were pretty useless, but you could just pepper a whole lot of them around sort of thing. And then this was the regular kind of medium blob that we use for the standard blobs in there. Yeah, so I think that's about it. That's a bunch of kind of so far unseen stuff that's all sort of half made. Yeah, all right. Yeah, so that's it. Thanks for watching, and yeah, continue asking questions on Reddit. Thanks.